morning. I want to thank everyone for coming to this event this morning, and especially I want to thank Wimsatt for co-sponsoring this with us and the Home Builders Association for creating this opportunity for us to get together to just talk about some of the services and programs that we have at the MIOSHA program. We have been doing these Coffee with MIOSHAs around the state this year as opportunities just to get out and share information and get to know one another a little bit better. There's quite a few MIOSHA folks here today. If you could all stand up or raise your hand if you're already standing up, so you can see, and that's the purpose, that you can have someone that you can ask a question, put a face with a name. If you've wondered about something, this is a great opportunity to talk with them. They're here to answer your questions and get your feedback on what's working and maybe what you wish we'd change at MIOSHA. So I'd invite you to take advantage of that. We also have a table back here if you haven't visited it. There's a number of good pieces of information and material on the table to take. One of the things that I really want to draw attention to is there's one that's called Enforcement and Appeals Overview. And this document is new. We did it as part of our Connecting initiative this year to lay out in a easy to understand, easy to follow, simple language, not a lot of bureaucratic or legalese, what should happen during a compliance visit so that you have some understanding of what your rights are and what should be going on. And then if you were to receive a citation as the result of an inspection, what your rights are in that process and settling that. So grab one of these. It's a good summary and good information to have. Okay, so Coffee with MIOSHA is really an opportunity for us to share our mission with folks out there. And our mission at MIOSHA is twofold. It is to protect the health, the safety, the earned wages, and fringe benefits of Michigan's working men and women. And today we do have primarily representatives from the MIOSHA side, but we have one wage hour representative as well. Can you raise wage hour? There you are back there. Okay, so we make sure that we have someone here to answer questions if you have about when minimum wage or payment of wages, those kind of questions. See our representative for that too. Okay, our Connecting, whoops, I got it, here we go. Our Connecting MIOSHA with Industry is an initiative I want to tell you about because we're very proud of it at MIOSHA. It started back in 2007, and it was a conscious decision that we made at MIOSHA to partner with labor and partner with industry to encourage cooperative interventions. We felt like the world had changed a lot, and it was really time for us to move away from that traditional kind of enforcement mode where we come in and we look and we just point out everything that's wrong, there's no conversation, there's no dialogue, and change that into a more collaborative intervention where there is exchange, there is information that we learn as part of it from the best practices and the good things that are going on at your workplace or on your job sites, and then also an opportunity to learn maybe the whys behind some of the rules and what are some of the ways that you can come into compliance with the rules, and to give that kind of help both in our consultation visits and in our enforcement visits. We also wanted to do something that was really different for us at that time, which was pointing out the good. Quite honestly, our MIOSHA staff up to that point were trained to only point out things that they saw that did not comply with the rules. And when we started this initiative, we said, you know, that's not right. We should be acknowledging and celebrating the good things that we see out there, all of the things that go way above and beyond MIOSHA minimum requirements. So as part of this initiative, we encouraged our staff to start pointing those things out and talking with employers about them and asking them how they did it and how it's working. So again, we can learn those stories and share them with other employers. And we're hoping by doing that we create an atmosphere where there is more opportunity for information sharing, for cooperative adventures, and for learning from one another, where we create a shared ownership for workplace safety and health in Michigan. I keep doing that. Oop, there we go. I'm wondering if anyone here participated in our Take a Stand Day this year. That's one of our premier connecting events, and I don't see one hand. Okay, so I've got to talk to you about Take a Stand Day. This is one day every year where we make all of our MIOSHA staff, compliance officers and consultants, available to come out and visit your job site or visit your shop, your maintenance area, whatever you would like us to take a look at, and have no citations, no penalties. I've heard it referred to as MIOSHA's Amnesty Day once a year. This year we had 200 employers, 46 of them were construction, who invited MIOSHA in on that day, and it just runs the gambit of everything from you're wondering if maybe a written program meets the requirements of MIOSHA, if your training does, if you'd like someone to talk to your safety committee or look at a piece of equipment, or just have an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with a local MIOSHA person in your area. Any of those things can happen on Take a Stand Day. So I would really encourage you next August to take advantage of Take a Stand Day. We've already got the date picked out. I'm thinking it's the 12th of August next year. It's a Wednesday, that middle Wednesday in August. And have someone do that. And if you don't want to wait that long, we do have our consultation, education, and training staff that are available all year long. Jim Getting and Fu are standing in the back, and they are available to work with you anytime throughout the year in that same way. No citations, no penalties, just an opportunity to proactively look at what you can do to strengthen your worker safety and health efforts. Another thing that has been very, very valuable for us at MIOSHA are partnerships, and I'm wondering if anyone here has worked on a partnership job site? Couple folks, very good. Was it a good experience? Very good. All right, that has been the feedback that we're receiving. What a partnership with MIOSHA is a formal agreement, and we just signed one last week with Pioneer Construction for a project that they're doing over at Grand Valley State University. And it spells out in that agreement how we will handle enforcement on that job site and how we will provide consultation services during the course of that job site. One of the things that has become a super popular feature of the job sites is that our MIOSHA staff come to partnership meetings. And when you do the job site walkthrough and then sit down and talk about potential hazards and how you might address them, our MIOSHA folks are there. Not with, writing citations out, but they're in a cooperative, just a member of the team kind of a way. And it's really been a powerful experience for us. We have a website, our MIOSHA website, and on that is a page on partnerships. If you want to go and look at it to see some of the things that have happened on partnership job sites, you can take a look at it and see some of the best practices that have happened. Overall, your industry has done a phenomenal job in bringing down the injury illness rate. You're doing a lot of things right out there. On the partnership sites, they're even having a better experience. They have an even lower injury illness rate than overall for the industry. It's pretty phenomenal, some of the projects that are built, airport terminals, hospital additions, road work, major projects at power plant, and the low injuries that happen during the course of those job sites and those work projects. We also have alliances throughout the state, and alliances are, again, formal agreements that we sign with organizations that talk about how we will share information, how we will work together for education and outreach opportunities, how we will share best practices, and how we can leverage one another's resources. And you can see some of the construction alliances that we have with the AGC of Michigan, Operating Engineers, the ABC, Construction Association of Michigan, and the Michigan Laborers Training and Apprenticeship Institute. Have any of you ever heard of voluntary protection programs? Couple people? Yeah. There's a program that's called the Voluntary Protection Program, and then we have our Voluntary Protection Program for Construction, our MVPPC. And what this is an award program for employers that have exceptional safety and health programs. You have developed a safety and health management system that's working for you. It is keeping your employees safe. It has all of the required elements. You have great management commitment. You have employee involvement. You do your worksite analysis, hazard prevention control. You do training, the needed training, and it's working. It's great. In those cases, we can give you an MVPP designation. You get a flag to fly, like you can see them holding up here or over there. We give you a plaque, and it exempts you from MIOSHA routine inspections. And I wanted to talk about and brag it up a little bit for construction because we haven't had that much interest in it in construction. They just love the partnerships, but we haven't had too many folks with the voluntary protection program. There are 3 different types of programs for construction because we recognize one size is just not going to fit all in the construction industry. So there's a fixed base project, which is for a controlling employer with a success who has had a partnership with MIOSHA. So there's a couple of you here in the room that would qualify for that one. There's a resident contractor provision, and that is for one who works at a host facility that's also a MVPP site. So we have a couple of those. There's a mobile workforce one, which we don't have any for yet, and that would be a specialty trades contractor that moves from site to site, like a roofing contractor, for example, would be a great example of that. So if you're interested in learning more about the voluntary protection program for construction, you can talk to our set representatives, or we have a MVPP specialist that would be more than happy to come out and meet with you and talk with you about the voluntary protection program and what that program requires and the benefits of becoming an MVPP company. We had some major changes, and I was talking with some of you about some of these changes at MIOSHA in the last year. As part of the changes that came about through the Governor's Office of Regulatory Reinvention, where they went back and they looked at all of the rules to make sure that the rules we have on the book are still relevant, they're rules that are useful, they're not obsolete, they're not overburdensome, looking at things, comparing what MIOSHA required to federal OSHA is requiring, and trying to kind of doing a cleaning out the garage, if you will, to make sure that what we have in there we really can use and it's useful. As part of their recommendations, they also recommended a major change in how we go about having worker safety and health rules in Michigan. Historically, we had commissions that were appointed by the governor, and those commissions appointed advisory committees, and they actually wrote the rules. Because authority really did not rest with those commissions any longer, but with the department, they recommended eliminating the commissions from our legislation, and that action did happen at the end of 2012. So we no longer have those standard-setting commissions. Instead, what we have done internally as a policy in MIOSHA is adopted a policy that we will form an advisory committee when there's a new rule being considered. So we will still bring in industry, we will still get their input, and we'll use them in a more holistic way. Instead of just looking at rule language, we'll ask them to also help us with how are we going to roll this out? What kind of training, what kind of resources, what kind of other things do we need to do to have an effective implementation strategy? And we've already had our very first advisory committee under this new policy. It was for our construction Part 28, which is personnel hoisting and steel erection. So it was a very useful session. Our MIOSHA website, if you're not familiar with it, I would really encourage you to take a look at that website and go through it. There are a lot of great resources on it. We try to be as transparent as we possibly can be in our activities. One of the things that we have been working hard on communicating in the last year are those changes that resulted from the Office of Regulatory Reinvention rule review, because it did result in just so many of our rules being changed and updated. Some because sometimes we had 2 rules that addressed the same thing. For example, in construction, your Part 6 personal protective equipment had fall protection rules in it, but we have a whole separate standard, Part 45, that talks about fall protection. So those rules in Part 33 really were not used or needed. So there is you can see the highlighted up, there it is, right here. New standards revision table, that's one to keep a look at to see what's happening with all those rule changes. And when you open it up, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a listing of all of the different MIOSHA standard parts that have been changed as a result of that Office of Regulatory Rule review. And when they have completed the project, then you'll see like Part 16 down there is in red. There will show you the implementation strategy. For the rules that have been taken out or have been changed, we'll let you know how that hazard is going to now be addressed. And here's an example of what that would look like if you open it up. This was Part 25 concrete. You can see the rules that have changed, and then when you go over to the far column, it will tell you now how that hazard is going to be addressed. So this is a good one to keep watch of and keep up to date with what is happening in rule changes. Also want to mention our MIOSHA Training Institute. We have training that is offered throughout the state at over 30 locations. It can lead to a certificate, a level 1 certificate in construction, which is kind of gives you the basics of what you need to know to be responsible for worker safety and health on a construction site. And then we have a level 2 that dives deeper into the standards and also looks at how do you sustain and maintain and grow a safety and health management system for a construction operation. We have scholarships available. We will pay half the tuition for you to go to one of our training programs. If you want to know more about it, Fu and Jim can tell you a lot more about it. They both are part of that in various ways, and we would love to have you. I'm curious, do we have any MTI participants here? We have over 12,000 of them in the state. Are there any in the room? Oh, couple, 3. Okay, well, we'd love to add to that number and would welcome you to it. We have a full year-long course listing that's posted on our website, and there's also a 6-month printed listing that's over on the table, so take a look at it. They're a community, they're offered throughout the state, as I said, in communities, so you don't have to drive to Lansing or drive to one specific location for the training. I mentioned a lot of resources on our webpage, and I want to lift up a few of these. Fact sheets, we have single point topic fact sheets on a whole variety of things on our webpage, and those are on there because you asked for them. Our customers asked for them. They said, you know, oftentimes it's very difficult to take a standard and dig through there and pull out something. Couldn't you give us some easier things to look at that just looked at one specific topic area to help us get started? It was good advice, and we have a whole series of these single-point fact sheets on our webpage, so take a look at those. There can be some great information. You may need to, you know, obviously go to the standard later, but it's a wonderful way to get started and to get some information. We have a lot of sample programs. There's one on the table back there for an accident prevention program, but there are many more, HAZCOM, and a lot of the programs that you need, we have samples for, so you don't have to start with a blank piece of paper. One of the features that I'm proud of that I really like is our Ask MIOSHA feature. If you have a question that you would like to ask MIOSHA, you can go and you can look through a bank of questions that other people have asked to see if your question has been asked before. If it's not, you can type in your question and send it off in an email form, and it will go to the right person in the agency, and you'll get an answer back to make it simple to get a response from MIOSHA. We also have a lot of other things that you can use if you would like to in your training with your workers, things like 5-minute safety talks and pamphlets and stickers and other things like that, as well as a video lending library. All available free of charge, and we'd encourage you to use those things. Wanted to point out a couple of things that Federal OSHA is also doing that are some good resources out there. They have an excellent fall prevention campaign. This is the 2nd year of it. If you're not familiar with it, you can go to the Federal OSHA website. And again, they have brochures and posters and materials that you can use for fall prevention awareness. They also have a great heat illness. We're kind of to the end of that for this year, I think. But for next year, there's always next year. So again, they have some great tools there, including a phone app that you can use yeah, it is, isn't it? That's a great app to help calculate the heat index. MIOSHA operates with a 5-year strategic plan, and I wanted to just very quickly talk about our scorecard. We are ending a 5-year plan at the end of this month, and we're starting a new plan for 5 years in October. Our baseline for the construction industry when we started this plan was that you had an injury illness rate of 3, which meant 3 workers for every 100 were injured on the job. As you can see, our goal was a 4% decrease per year. And like I said before, your industry has done an absolutely outstanding job of finding ways to keep people safe while they're doing high hazard work. Because look at these numbers. The numbers tell the story here. 23% decrease the first year, 53 the second, 33 the third, 50 in fiscal year 11. And we don't have the data yet for fiscal year 12. So you're doing a great job. There's a lot of things that are working well, and you're finding ways to address hazards proactively out there. We commend you for that action. Our new strategic plan is done. It has been filed with federal OSHA, and it's now posted on our website. So if you want to see what our goals are for the next 5 years, you can go there and you can take a look at that. We also award grants, and I wanted to mention those very quickly. We are just in the process of getting ready to announce $865,000 worth of grants for the coming fiscal year. This slide shows you some of the grants that we had in place for the current fiscal year that affected the construction industry. Something that we started earlier this year, because we were seeing an uptick in worker deaths. By the time we had hit March, we had already 11 fatalities in Michigan. To put that into a context, in 2012, we had 27 for the entire year. So that was a concern. And some of the feedback that we had from focus groups when we were developing our strategic plan was, why don't you share that information? Because it's a great training tool for us to use. We can share that in our toolbox talks, and it really does get people's attention. So we did, and this is the first message that we sent out when we started doing that. And now, each time, unfortunately, there's a worker fatality, and we're at 23 this year so far, we send out one of these quick messages that talk about it. Are any of you getting those messages? Good. Yeah, are you using them? Announce them at the next group meeting. That's a great way to use it. Yeah, Patty was telling me about a place that she was recently where they post them on the wall too, so people can see. I went to one workplace where they had them going through the TV. It's just a way, again, to be aware that there are hazards out there and that we need to keep doing the job safely foremost in our minds, every task, every day. This, you can see that overall we are headed in the right direction in Michigan. We do have an overall downward trend in worker fatalities. And that is absolutely outstanding, because that's what this is all about. It's about sending people home at the end of the job. We don't want any empty chairs at the dinner table. And we're headed in that way. This has been a challenging year, so anything that you can do to help with that awareness and keeping the message out there in front of folks every day on every task is greatly appreciated. We encourage you to stay connected with MIOSHA, and here's some of the ways you can do it if you aren't already. We do publish a quarterly newsletter. It's been paper up to this point. We're going to do one more paper edition, and then we're going paperless. It will be an online newsletter, and we're excited about that, because while you lose something with the paper copy, I like the paper copy too, but you gain something too. And we'll be able to have full color pictures in it and longer articles, and maybe bring back some of the features that we've had to lose as we've shortened the versions down. It used to be a 20-page magazine that came out, and now it's kind of a fold-out 6-page model. So we're excited about that, and if you don't receive it currently, take a look at it. They're posted on our website, and you can sign up for it on the website too. They're free. We also have a monthly e-news. Anybody get the e-news? Do you like the e-news? Yeah, I'll tell you what I like about the e-news. The e-news was a big step forward for us in our transparency, because while we have posted our policies on the web page for quite a while now, what we didn't do was really any proactive sharing of when we changed it, or when it was there, when we adopted a new policy. So the e-news each month comes out, and it'll have some highlights in it of some major activities, maybe some hearings decisions that have happened, but it will also list for you all of the different policies that have been changed or adopted in MIOSHA in the last year, so you can look at it and see if there's any rule applications or interpretations that have changed that affect what you do. It's really great. So if you haven't signed up for that, I would encourage you to do that as well. And we're also on Twitter and Facebook, so you can follow us and see what we're doing. Like we tweet things like this, so people know where we are and what we're out there doing. I want to leave you by telling you that this is our commitment to you from MIOSHA, that we will be proactive. We will do what it takes to make a difference in keeping people safe and healthy, and that our goal is to do that in a way that is inclusive, that it's the 360 inclusiveness, that it includes MIOSHA, it includes employers, and it includes workers. So we welcome opportunities to work together, to work collaboratively. I shared some of those opportunities with you today. We are always looking for feedback. We have customer comment cards that our staff leave when they go places and invite feedback, but we also invite it from you whenever you have something that you'd like to share with MIOSHA. Patty Meyer is here from Construction Safety and Health Division, and she would love to hear from you. I would as well. I always give people my phone number at the end of my talk, so if you do have something and you want to call and directly tell me, you can do that. So here's my phone number. Write this down. It's 517-322-5050. And I always tell people you probably have a 50-50 chance of catching me the first time you call, but I will return the call. And we do want to stay connected. Again, we thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today and to share some time with you. And I think Patty is going to come up and talk for a few minutes about some of the things that are happening with enforcement in the residential construction industry. So Patty, come on up here. Okay.